Hey, what's going on? Uh, we're going to do some editorial here, I guess, if you want to call it that. I'll wait till some of y'all show up. This is the Deadline Live TV podcast, and a bunch of things I want to talk about today. So we're going to get to some of those, promote some of the stuff that we're up to. Be cool if we had some people over here to check it all out. After I do my rant, we'll check out some of your comments and questions in the chat, get to you guys. At some point, I think maybe YouTube isn't enjoying the work I've been doing, so you're just going to get kicked off or whatever. Should you just start out on these shows? You guys are good at that, right? Should we just start out on these shows to, right with the content? Just go right away with that content and just make it happen. I want to talk about immigration today because it's a weird topic, and depending on what channel you watch, I guess you're going to get completely divergent opinions, right? And it's not, hey, we're all Americans, I guess, here, right? It should it be symbiotic at some point? It just isn't. So I can kind of see where this podcast is going to go. We did one on Sunday real quick, and it was just like, nobody wants to hear it. So I don't know. Was out job hunting today. Was out job hunting, and we got some bad news about my son and his health and everything, and that could be very expensive. It already is. I think we've already racked up for my boy about $120,000 worth of medical bills. We make too much money to get help, and I know you guys all love Obamacare, and that worked out really good for you, and I'm glad it did. I'm super happy for you that all worked out great and all. We got charged for not having insurance, and it was thousands and thousands of dollars a year that we had to pay every year. Basically, any withholding tax that we lost by working, we weren't allowed to get it back. And who knows? I mean, when it all comes down, and I'm sure, with all the new money going to the IRS, I'll probably find out that I owe, $10,000 in penalties for not having insurance because we make so much money. I mean, we're the working poor, and that is, I think, the most blown up category of anyone. All right, so I was going to do a podcast, and I'm going to give it another minute or two, and then I'll just go ahead and delete this. It's not going to work. But one of the reasons I wanted to get on today is that, Texas, I think Arizona, but Texas is sending all our new countrymen who cross the Rio Grande up to New York City, and then they just go down. They have a big event, and they can just go down and get free cell phones and healthcare and put their kids in school, and they barely even have to speak English. I'm not one of those people. I mean, come on, man. I like culture, so I speak a little Spanish, muy petite, but it's kind of hard, for the rest of us to just watch how easy it is. You just come over the border, you get on a bus, they take you, they drop you off. Apparently, you're getting luxury hotel suites in New York because they got to put you somewhere, right? I mean, you're not going to have a tent on the street, God forbid. And then you get free healthcare, free cell phones, your kids go to school. You probably have to raise the property tax, to take care of all these kids, and and that kills renters and poor people. So, um, and it's kind of harsh, and it's funny how we're so against helping Americans, but so for helping people that come over here. And I'm just going to say, what I'd like to do is take a bus or whatever, a free bus down to the Mexican border, just go over that, and then be sent to Mexico City, be put up in a luxury hotel, and then get free cell phones, free healthcare, put my kids in a decent school, all that, right? Um, but they're probably not going to allow me to do that. It's yeah, the thing is, when you go to Mexico, you got to have your ID, you got to be all on the up and up. And most of the Central and South American countries, they're going to ask you, to put in a proper investment before you can go. They're going to be pretty tight on work visas. It's going to be very hard for you to go work in the community. You're not going to be able to do that. I mean, you're going to have to be an entrepreneur of some kind and come down with a bunch of money. And, I mean, it's kind of this, it works the same both ways, except for that they do that and it's okay. And then we do it and it's not okay. And I get it. I have compassion for people, and I understand, knowing the history of Global Corp and Central and South America, I understand why they'd want to come here. Not because this is the headquarters of Global Corp, but because they've turned people into slaves in Central and South America, and it's just a harsh way to live. But it's nice to be able to move yourself from a shanty town or whatever, come here, look at all the Americans in tents who can't pay. Say again, we're talking about New York City, can't pay $3,000-$4,000 a month rent, and just get everything handed to you. It's kind of defeating. It's kind of upsetting. And my family needs health care, and I have to pay a lot of money for this service that you're watching right now. I have to pay money for cell phones. Everybody's got their hand out for $100 a month. You'll go out and you'll make enough money to pay the rent and the property taxes and to, just survive. There'll be nothing left for you. I guess that's the American dream. I don't know, but is there any way I can go renounce my citizenship, go over the border, come back over and get all this stuff? So I could see why people are pissed off about that. Not to mention, drugs, crime, and everything that goes with that. And, I've always been very libertarian when it comes to immigration. I think the states should make the call, which is what Texas is doing now. And they're like, hey, listen, if the feds, that's now the Department of Homeland Security, if that's Customs, Border Control, if they don't want to do this and don't want to defend the border, then the people of Texas don't want to pay for it all, then they just ship them up to New York and then they pay for it. Like, I guarantee you, if I immigrate as an undocumented Washingtonian and I immigrate to New York City, there's going to be no mercy for me. I won't be able to get anything. I won't be able to go to the massive fairs that they have and line my pockets with all kinds of free stuff. There's just no way. They're not going to do that. And I know that because I've done that before. I got to take care of myself. I got to look out for number one. I got to take care of myself. I love how they just put these tents up and just like sign everybody through and you're just all set. For the rest of us who, have multiple generations here of paying taxes and fighting in wars and defending and supporting the United States of America, we get to go wait in line, and we better be good at it. We better be good at getting social services and better be good at all of that. I mean, you're probably going to have to go back 3 or 4 times. It's a freaking nightmare. But if you just landed in this country and you got off the bus, I mean, here it is. Here's a big open area where they have all kinds of people there to help you. I mean, what is up with that? So, I've always been, like I said, very libertarian about immigration. I understand why people come here for a better life, but what message does that send to the third world? You can come up here and, I mean, oh, that's right. They're not calling home and going, get up here right now. They're just giving everything away. You'll be all set. You'll be all taken care of within a month. You'll have a job, right? I've been job hunting up here in Seattle for quite a while. And, I know I'm older and nobody wants to hire someone of my age, but I'm not getting in that lane. That's not available to me. I can't move to Mexico or Costa Rica or Peru or wherever, Ireland, because if I don't come with something, they're going to say no, not no, but F no, get out of here. Here, we'll give you a temporary work visa for 3 months. I mean, if you're good at that kind of stuff and you got your paperwork in order and whatnot, and maybe you have some family, maybe. Why are we treating people coming into this country right now better than we treat people that are in this country? I mean, there are theories on it, and one of the theories is they can become voters, okay? But once you're here, the last thing you want is someone else coming here taking what you have. And this is why, minorities in this country that have grown up here and lived here for 100 or 200 years, family-wise, put time in and paid taxes. That's why they're not really into it either. But it's just so defeating to know that we're not getting any help whatsoever. They don't mind taking money out of my check for taxes, and they don't mind, processing progressive taxes down the line. These are, regressive taxes done by progressives. They don't mind doing any of that. But, man, if I just got off the bus from wherever, I'm good. I'm going to be all set. Like, when are Americans going to be a little pissed off about that? It's not Trumpian. It's not, the crime and everything. It's just, man, I can't catch a break. You can't. Any of you, none of you watching this or whatever right now, none of you get to do any of that. None of you are getting any breaks. None of you get to just walk down the street and they just have tables there and people speaking whatever language you speak and then just hooking you up. You walk away, you're all hooked up. And then you go to your luxury hotel suite in New York City. Let me tell you, man, I lived in New York City and I paid rent there. I've gone and rented hotels in New York City and stayed at the Chelsea Hotel or the Algonquin, really just rat-infested joints, artist places. I've had money, man. I made a lot of money at one time, and I've never stayed in a luxury suite. Backup, I did stay at the San Moritz for Christmas one year, thanks to my in-laws. Wasn't that great, but I mean, that was paid for. Why are people just getting a free ride, man? And it's one thing to let you come in here and stay here. And I'm not saying we should, chain you up in camps, or I don't know what the answer to that. I mean, I do know what the answer to that is. I do have answers and solutions to things, so I actually do. But what does that say when somebody books over the border, gets on a bus, drives that same bus for me to go from Texas to New York is going to cost me $500 out of pocket. They just don't even get near the place if you don't have $500, and they just get the ride right up there. And then as soon as they land, there's people there just helping them out and getting them all set up. What does that say? So one of my problems with immigration has always been the logical one, and that is, I guess, if we're this great rich country and there's 7.5 billion people on Earth, and why can't they all just come live here? So at what point do we draw the line and say you can't just walk in here and get a free ride? Free ride or not, you just can't. 7.5 billion people can't live here, and let's say that hundreds of millions of them don't want to move and are doing fine. But okay, so 6 billion people can't all come here tomorrow. We can't have that. Every other border in this world is fairly secure, including the Mexican border. If you try to go south, man, have you guys been there and been caught without your ID by the federales? Been sticking out like a sore thumb, like the nail that sticks out of the board that gets hammered first. Have you guys, has that happened to you? Do you know someone that's been arrested in Mexico and went to a Mexican jail for just going down there and bringing your dinero and spending it over there? I mean, you're bringing money down there to spend money in their town and their cities, and you better watch it. You better be on your best behavior, because they're not having it. So just to see these stories, for the last, I guess, ever since the pandemic, and certainly ever since Biden's been in control, allegedly, like, even Fox News, this is where they don't want anyone to have a free ride. Fox News doesn't want me to have health care, doesn't want me to have anything. They don't want to help me. Okay, so they're consistent on that level. But where are they just out? I would love to see, Tucker Carlson or someone out going, hey, I mean, if we're going to help someone, let's help Americans. There's enough Americans. We've looked at the numbers. When rent goes up 10%, which, they have a law in Seattle where it can't go up more than 10% a year. Well, 10% a year creates 10% more homeless people. And they wonder why there's so many homeless people on the street. Well, I guess, if you're fresh off the bus from Mexico, you won't have to worry about any of that. That you're going to be homed. You're going to be taken care of. You're going to have a free cell phone, health care, like everything, And I need that. I need some of that shit right now myself. And maybe you do too. And you paid in your whole life. And then you have these creeps. This is why I don't like Republicans. They'll come out and say, oh, well, we can't afford it because, inflation and printing money, and they're about half right on some of it, but super half wrong on it. I paid in. That's what Ron Paul was saying the whole time. I paid in. I want to get some of my money back. Is that okay? Am I just a selfish, greedy bastard because I paid into this country? My parents paid in. My grandparents paid into this country. That maybe I need help once in a while? And then they try to move the Social Security age up here. You've been paying your whole life. You can get off a bus from the Rio Grande and not have paid anything, and they're going to hook you up. You've been paying here your whole life into withholding taxes and Social Security, and they're not giving you shit. And you better hope, like my problem is, I'm not in a tent. I get that. But even those people, are having a hard time getting good services, help. They probably have an easier time than I do. If I try to go down to the, Health and Human Services, they're going to tell me I need to move immediately and live somewhere, some rat hole somewhere, and then they'll give me something, you know. And I'm not trying to scam the system, and I know people are, but I'm not. It just bothers me that you can just walk off the bus and get here and just be totally taken care of. So again, I mean, do you think that people aren't getting on the phone and calling their relatives and saying, "Hey, free for all, get up here"? And if they're not, they're all hooked up and then they're sending all that money back home. I mean, they're not spending it here. My money that I make here, I spend it here. I don't send it out of the country to be spent somewhere else. I spend that money here. That's why, I'm a believer in cutting from the very top. Austerity starts at the top. So cutting corporate welfare, cutting the fat, cutting off the cronyism, and then if there's money to spend, I mean, spend it on Americans that have been investing into this country their entire lives. Man, I just feel left out. I feel left out, and there's nowhere I get to go where I'm going to be okay. Like, I could go down and maybe put together 5-10 grand and then go move to another city in another country. They're not going to have me there. That's not enough. I'll have a place to live. I'll have a job, like whatever, man. That's not enough. They won't have it. Do you understand? I mean, that's great that we're so nice to everyone. So the question is, like, where does it end? Well, where do you draw the line? Can 6 billion people all come here? Because there's a lot of poor people around the world. If they can just get here, they'll be all set up and taken care of. They don't even have to go stand in line for anything, really. It's just here. Here you go. It reminds me of like when the Irish came here, my ancestors in Tammany Hall said, "Okay, you're going to vote Democrat, right? You're going to vote for Irish and you're going to go fight in the war. And here you go. You're a citizen now." Have we not learned from all of this? I don't understand how it can just keep happening. And so I guess good for Abbott and those guys shipping those people out. It's not on their tab. You know, Washington, D.C., New York City, sanctuary cities, man. So then what happens when they can't meet their obligations? Then I guess here's Jack Blood in Seattle, Washington, that's going to bail them out. Meanwhile, I have to pay my cell phone bill. I don't have any kind of health care. I mean, it's just a nightmare. So some of you who are younger, if you watch a show like this and you're a little younger, maybe you're a anarcho-capitalist or whatever, and you bought into the whole Mises line of bullshit. Well, too bad. Pick yourself up by your bootstraps. Why do I have to do that? And I've done that my whole life. This Friday, I'm going to be 59 years old. I've paid my way my whole life. I haven't asked for handouts. So it just bums me out, man. And then if you say what I've just said for the last 24 minutes on this podcast, then I guess I'm a racist or something, Look, man, I'm more than happy to pitch in, to help, and I feel it, I understand. And I understand why so-called progressives want to help those people. I mean, it is the It is the kind thing to do. But there's certainly ways to do it and ways not to do it. And I just don't like this all being thrown in my face. It just bothers me. I'm sorry. Much like seeing Jared Kushner going out and doing the rounds with his new book. You know, he's the Mechanah. Do you know what that is? So in Israel, the most extreme Zionist in Israel thought, maybe still do, thought that Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's son-in-law, was the Messiah. Did you know that? And then you see him in these interviews, man. He's doing a lot of interviews now because he's got this book out, and some of you who are major Trump supporters watching it, and he's, you know, I mean, what's he supposed to do? He's married to Ivanka. He's gonna pitch the Trump family in the best way he can. He's another silver spoon kid who was, I talk about, you know, lucky sperm club. He just born into massive amounts of money and just, you know, and I'm not saying he didn't earn his keep, but didn't go to school and didn't go sit at the desk and point at things, you know, I mean, but the fact that Trumpers now are digging him. I just saw Kellyanne Conway do an interview. Remember, she was one of Trump's top people, warning just now, just today, warning us about Jared 666 Kushner. Yeah, they had to buy that 666 Park Avenue building. Had to. Way overpaid for it because they had to have that building. His dad went to prison for being a con man. So I guess that's the theme of the show, man. Just be lucky, be born in Mexico, be born a Kushner, and you're just all set, man. And I just don't think people are pissed off enough. We've got our own problems. I get it. It's not easy for us to figure out things in the whole grand scheme. It is a grand scheme, and they're planning way ahead. You know, call it 4D chess. I think it's more like 2D checkers, two-dimensional checkers. That's what bothers me so much is that you don't have to do this. There's better ways. You don't have to go and do all of this and just rub our faces in it. I mean, that's why it seems like to me this midterm election is just going to go completely sideways. I mean, I just can't. You'd have to be really completely just imbued with cognitive dissonance to fall for any of this. You know, neither solution is good. I mean, I'll tell you right now, I mean, just stop raping and pillaging people in Central and South America. Stop propping up dictators. Stop thinking you're still fighting the Cold War. Start being fair with your trade, right? Which is, some people say, something Trump did. I mean, you know, we can debate that. Start being fair about how you treat people on your border, and maybe they won't all want to come here and I was gonna say I'm not going to, but I can't blame them. Hey man, I can't blame them. Cartels run the countries, military juntas, dictators. They don't let you have guns in Mexico, yet everybody has a gun. And, you know, if you don't fall in, and this is, I know this firsthand, you don't fall in with the cartels, you're nothing. It's like growing up in the 30s, 40s, 50s in Brooklyn or Ozone Park or something in New York. I mean, the opportunities are so slim, and you see the mafia guys, and you know, you really don't have a lot of choices. I think we should have more choices. And I think the people that built this country, that have paid for all of this, should have just a little bit easier of a path to be successful and not have to step aside so that someone who just comes here, and the other thing, it's crazy. You could just get off the bus here and maybe get a credit card and have credit. They say, one of the things that affects your credit the most is your credit history, how long you've had credit. Well, obviously, we've been here a long time, so sometimes, things aren't always optimum. Things, don't always go the way you would think they would go. And, you planned on in 2006, you bought a house, and because the housing market was in a massive bubble, and you bought the house, and you got completely screwed by a Bush and Obama and all their banker friends, and now your credit's shit, and you had to go upside down in your house, and you never recovered from that. But if you just come off the bus and you get here, all of a sudden, I guess you can go apply for a credit card and have credit. And, it's just so amazing to me to see people that just arrived here. Thank you for coming here. What a great country. Please help us make it great. Please, pitch in and be a part of your community. You're driving a $40,000 truck, man. I have a $2,000 truck. I'm hoping to keep it on the road. No one's coming to my aid. I say that. Be bold and mighty forces will come to your aid. And the story is not over yet. We're still in, hopefully, the middle chapters. But I just pisses me off, really. It pisses, all of it. It's so hard not to get mad about it. Mad as hell. And you're not going to take it anymore. And that's why, that's why people are worried. That's why people are hitting back. Was it yesterday? They retried the two leftover guys in the Gretchen Whitmer. She's the governor of Michigan. If you didn't know, she's running for re-election right now, and hopefully she'll lose. But they had some messed up dudes. The FBI completely ramped up this whole plot, and most of the dudes in that, like the Hutari, remember when we were covering the Hutari in Michigan, and they all got, I think all but one got off. Somebody has to take the fall because they were completely set up in an FBI sting operation. The same thing happened in the Gretchen Whitmer just pre-election. This was part of their election propaganda kidnapping case, and no one was going to kidnap anyone. And they finally got two guys. It's so funny to watch this covered. It's not really funny at all, but it's amazing how major news outlets can cover the conviction of these two guys who are going to get life in prison, I guess, and not even bothered. Well, there was some talk about FBI procedures without going into, you're the news. Who, what, why, where, when. Whatever happened to that? I mean, I try to do that here. That's why we go 360. I mean, who, what, why, where, when. Okay. The FBI completely came up with the entire plot. They found people dumb enough to fall for it. There was never the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, was never in any danger whatsoever. However, the way she was treating her state, who could blame someone for when somebody comes along here, here's a bunch of money, here's the whole plot, we're going to help you kidnap the governor. Who I mean, it's almost like hard to blame them. And the jury in this second retrial had no information. Most of it was blocked out, and I don't know how they couldn't know about this, other than the fact that if you watch the news, that they're not talking about it. They never do. I think we covered this on last week's show or the week before show, the Thursday show that I do. And when your budgets are in danger, or if you think they could be, if you're an alphabet agency, government agency, part of the bureaucracy, the deep state, the shadow government, call them whatever you want. I mean, you better justify your budget or you're not getting that money anymore. So you got to go out and find plots that don't even exist. And that's really what that was. But it doubled as election propaganda, which, for all we know, could have helped elect Joe Biden. And now here we are with that. I mean, the snake eats its tail. And then so for those of us out here, I guess we're considered crazy that notice this, that actually read things and investigate, what's behind the story. We have to answer. The news doesn't do it for us. We have to answer the who, what, why, where, when on these subjects. I mean, it's crazy. But then again, that should be a word of warning to you if some guy comes over and starts telling you how, you can do a plot on January 6th or in Charlottesville or wherever it's going to be, Oklahoma City, 9/11, 1993 World Trade Center bombing, and you pretty much got to know you're being set up. If you don't, you kind of get what you get. I mean, I'm not feeling too bad for those people. I mean, you have to be a little discriminatory about who you associate with. And this is why I've called out Oath Keepers and some of these other groups in the past, Proud Boys, because they're just infested with either informants or assets, right? I mean, I do feel bad for people who want to protect and defend the Constitution and freedom and get so zealous about it that they're suckers and get wrapped up in an FBI sting operation. I mean, I can't help but not. So I got a message from the Emperor. Before I do that, let me promote tomorrow. I have Robert H. Bork Jr. On the show, on my live show on Thursdays at Ocelli.com. He heads the Bork Group. They're a public affairs agency. He's an experienced advocate and specializing the development and implementation of communication strategies in support of litigation and legal policy. He's the eldest son of Judge Robert H. Bork. Remember, he didn't make the Supreme Court, and he died recently. Heads the Bork Group. He covers international economics. Was at the World News and World Report, U.S. News and World Report, at Forbes, at I'll say it right, Detroit Free Press. Say that 5 times fast. Detroit Free Press, Detroit Free Press, Detroit Free Press. The Fort Worth Star Telegram, the Miami Herald. He's at the Heritage Project. He was on Capitol Hill. We're going to have him on and talking about antitrust laws, big money write-offs, that kind of thing. He's a very interesting guy. It's Robert Bork's son, so we're going to have him on. Is Warner Brothers Discovery merger antitrust laws with big money write-offs for the movie like Batgirl, and we'll get to some of that stuff. But I have a message from your leader, if you're a Trumper. Let's see if I can find it here. He sends me messages. Mr. Trump. So there's a lot going on with this. You're probably not going to get it in the mainstream. This is what they're saying, and I'm not holding it up for its own veracity. This is just what 45 is saying. Quote, we have just filed a motion in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Florida strongly asserting my rights, including under the Fourth Amendment of our Constitution, regarding the unnecessary, unwarranted, and un-American break-in by dozens of FBI agents and others of my home in Mar-a-Lago and Palm Beach, Florida. They demanded that security cameras be turned off, a request we rightfully denied. They prevented my attorneys from observing what was being taken in the raid, saying absolutely not. They took documents covered by attorney, client, and executive privilege. That's a problem, which is not allowed. They took my passports. They even brought a safe cracker in and successfully broke into my personal safe, which revealed, like Geraldo, nothing. I added that Geraldo part. We are now demanding that the Department of Justice be instructed to immediately stop the review of documents illegally seized from my home. All documents have been previously declassified. And this is one of those gray areas, like who should be able to run for president. That's one of those gray areas, right? We've seen that over the years. Could Ted Cruz be a president? He's born in Canada. We keep doing this over and over again. But it is kind of a gray area. Can a president declassify documents? We know that they can. Can they do it while they're in office? And then can they take all that stuff home with them? Or does that all happen later in conjunction and working with the National Archives, which all other presidents have done, not this one? Back to the Fuhrer. Sorry. We are demanding the appointment of a special master to oversee the handling of the materials taken in the raid. We are further demanding that the DOJ be forced to turn over a real, without plants, inventory of my property that was taken and disclosed where that property is now located. We are demanding that all items wrongfully taken from my home be immediately returned. The wrongful, a broad warrant was signed by a magistrate judge who recused himself just 2 months ago from a major civil suit that I filed because his bias and animus towards me. The judge that approved this had one of them had to recuse himself, which is what you're supposed to do if you have a particular bias in the case. You know people who are involved in the case. Okay, whatever. I've been through this in court myself. The Mar-a-Lago break-in, search, and seizure was illegal and unconstitutional. We're taking all actions necessary to get the documents back, which we would have given to them without necessity of despicable raid on my home. Well, maybe that's debatable. So I can give them to the National Archives until they're required for the future. This is how it works. The future Donald J. Trump Presidential Library and Museum. That's a major point because that's how it works with our presidents. They take the stuff, they work it out with everybody, and then they figure, and then if there's something that's really important, okay, like the negotiations with the whole Iran thing. Now, I was on the other side of Trump on the whole Iran deal, and I'd like to have seen that worked out a whole different way. But to him, negotiating with Kim Jong-un, negotiating with the leaders of Iran, negotiating with the Mekana, the Messiah, Jared Kushner, negotiating peace deals in the Middle East. I mean, these are things that would be pretty important to have in your presidential library and for your legacy, and you're not just going to hand them over and never be able to get them back. You see, I think that's kind of where we're at here, no matter what MSNBC tells you. This is the big thing. It's all coming. 300 documents were seized. Some of them could have been nuclear. And then, of course, we found out they weren't, and the story's constantly changing. Look, man, and I'm not sticking up for the guy. I'm just looking at this as news and seeing what is right, what isn't, what's legal, what isn't. I have experts that I constantly talk to come on my shows and break it down. And some of that I just never hear, even on Fox News. I just don't hear shit about it. Nothing. I think we know that it's completely extraordinary that this has happened. I think we know that there better be some there. in order for that, and I'm just so bored talking about it. Quite frankly, I had to read you the message that I got today from the president. He sent me a personal message to everyone else who's on the mailing list, and I never signed up for it, but I'm on it anyway. So I thought I'd share it with you guys. Where are we at? 44 minutes. All right. Now we're going to be at 45 minutes. So I'm going to ask you guys the question. I mean, this is how I started off. This is kind of what motivated me to do a podcast today. Should someone just walk over the border and get on a bus, a free bus, go to New York City, get a luxury leftover hotel room, be given free cell phones, potential jobs, and enrolling their children all in school? I mean, and get free health care. I'm not opposed to all of us having that if we could find a way to do that. I mean, hey, man, first in line, right? What about the people, speaking of the first in line people, what about the people that have been waiting? And I get that the immigration system here is completely clogged. Part of that is because of COVID, they say. And if you want to come here legally, it's a major challenge. Now, if you have any kind of money, you get on a plane, you come here, you get your green card or do whatever, and you just don't go back, and no one really cares. And you go and you do things the way Americans generally have to do them through the system. But what's with the preferential treatment? That's the only thing I think that for us as Americans, like, what's up with this preferential treatment? Are we just the rats here? Sorry, it's freaking hot up here, man. Today it's 90 degrees and massive humidity, and it's global warming, I guess. I don't know, man, but I'm sure the global warming has nothing to do with the forget about the social engineering, then geoengineering. I've just moved on to that topic all by myself. But I appreciate you guys being here. One thing I don't want to do is get on and do these podcasts and just be talking to myself, even though later people will watch these. And that's cool. I could tape those. The only reason I do things live, I do a Thursday live show on a Chili Network at 3 o'clock Pacific time, 3 to 5 Pacific time. I have some pretty huge guests on that show, and we try to, cover some major material and give you guys some info and insight that maybe you're not getting on the huge limo driving podcast. But so that's why I come on live, is I want to get feedback and I want to do this with you guys. Otherwise I could just tape something like this and it would probably look a lot better. Trust me. It probably just, who knows? Maybe that would be popular even. I don't know. Who knows? Thank you, Nick. Nick is watching. Meme Jones, America's first. That's the way it should be. I paid my whole life and I still am. It's not racist to think I've paid in. If this country is run off a pyramid scheme, then shouldn't I be up the pyramid? Why am I at the bottom of the pyramid? And why do people just walk in and all of a sudden they're in the middle of the pyramid? I mean, that's upsetting. Even if you were participating in a pyramid scheme with the capstone missing and the eyeball at the top, you wouldn't like that. This is man, it's about paying your dues, right? It's about paying your dues. And what can I offer to this country? What can I offer to the world, for that matter? I mean, what are we talking about? Helping people who maybe in 3 or 4 generations can be of serious value to the world. And I'm not just lumping everybody in, because I don't want to be lumped in. It's not a bad thing to say Americans first in America. And I trust me, man, in any other country, they feel the same way. Now, they have the same problem with nepotism and bloodlines and all that. They have a lot of the same problems we have. You're born from the banker and the landowner. You know, you're not going to probably come here and need to come here and tap in to what we have. But it's just so sad that if you're going to give people this stuff, fine, give it to the rest of us then too. See, I'm actually for that. This is why, you know, and I get constantly branded as a right winger, but this is why I'm kind of a left winger. I don't want this centralized government. I don't want it to be centralized. I want it to be all local, and there's a way to do that. But if you paid in your whole life, man, well, and then everything that comes down the street, your air, food, water, your clothing, your furniture, it poisons you so that you won't live long enough to collect on all the money you paid in. It's not that you need to be first. Why do you have to be last? Does that make sense? Does that make sense to anyone? It's not that I want to be first in line. It's like, why should I have to be last in line? Or not in line at all? Mickway71. Hey, man, you look new. Jack, you're underrated. I recall when Bathhouse Barry was in office and you said the wheels on Barry's go-kart are coming off. I know. Well, he's living in Martha's Vineyard right now, and don't worry, global warming won't hurt him over there. Cousin Barry. I got in trouble for saying that. There's a clip. I know you guys love Cheney, and you're going to get mad at me. You love the Cheneys. There's a clip where I think it was on Meet the Press. Might have been with my old friend Tim Russert, where he just admits it's funny that they're cousins. The Cheney and Obama are cousins. No, not like we're all cousins. Like they're second cousins-ish, third cousins, you know. They come from the Lucky Sperm Club. So he didn't just come off of the streets of Chicago as a community organizer. Didn't just, oh man, do I have to go into all this again? Didn't just, because people are going to get mad and call me a racist. Look, I really love the fact that we put an alleged black guy in as president of the United States. I love even more that he's the only president that I'll probably ever have in my entire life that's my age. One shot at that. So it's not so much that he let down black people, which they think he did. He let down my generation. That is going to be the only president of my entire generation. We're back to having 80-year-old presidents again. If Trump gets in, then we're going to keep doing that. And then by the time, you know, we get in somebody who's in their 50s or something, I mean, then that person is going to be too young. I had one. I can't believe it. The baby boomers, man, no offense, but you all got 10 presidents. We got one, and it was Obama. So I like that we broke the ceiling on a couple of things, but, I mean, does he have to be a blue blood? And he acted like one, and he was in the banker's pocket the entire time. And I think most hardcore leftists that you guys will see on any podcast, they'll say that stuff too. So it's not just me. Kush is a piece of work. Orangey pardoned his daddy. I know. Kushner's dad was allegedly, was he pardoned or was he just not exonerated, which is, I guess, what a pardon can mean. There's another word for it. What they did with Scooter Libby and some of those guys, it's just, you're okay. America is done. I don't want to think that. I don't want to think that, man. But how could you not? What? 260 some years? Is that it? That's our run? I mean, Rome had thousands of years, right? I mean, I don't know. How long has France been a country, or Germany? I mean, or Russia? Well, maybe not the last one. It's hard not to think that. But if that's the case, if Mick, if America is done, then what? I mean, I hope you're not thinking, you're going to take it over and you'll be running it, because that's not the plan. The plan is to not have countries, and you guys all know that. Too far gone Daytona. You look new, unless that's a new name. Show is. Telling the truth. I'm trying, man. I mean, we'll see how long I last here on YouTube. Luckily, my head is down because I'm not that big here. So they don't really care about me right now. I mean, if I get up to where I hope we do with, thousands and thousands of, we have those subscribers and the viewers and whatnot. But if we get up to, the high level of watchery that could happen on YouTube, I mean, we're going to get spanked. It's coming, and I'm preparing for it. I have exit plans where we can go, but let's build it here. Let's use their machinery against them in this case. And now I'm definitely done on YouTube, but they don't even care. They don't care. I'm such a small, tiny little being here. They just don't care about me at all. And they don't care about you, and I guess that's the problem. Don't underestimate Jack Blood. Yeah, I ain't no fool, right? I know how this shit works. I have plans to keep us going, and so anything you guys do, any brick you help to make to build the infrastructure to do this, it's not going anywhere. No. Daytona reminds me of Chappie. Okay. One of you guys were asking about Alexander Dugan the last time. I knew that was. I just didn't really. I don't like. It looks like I just, mouth off and just say whatever, but I really don't like commenting on things that I'm not super informed about. So I am fairly informed about the Alexander Dugan case right now. As you may or may not know, his daughter was car bombed in Russia. He is, they say he's Putin's brain, though I think Putin's his own brain. The Karl Rove of Russia, Pooty Poot. No, that was what? Turd Blossom. That's what Bush called. Bush had little nicknames for everybody. He had little nicknames for everybody. Turd Blossom. That's Karl Rove. Pooty Poot. That's Putin. He looked into his eyes and saw his soul. And everything seemed pretty good back then with Russia, but not so much anymore. No, it's actually really bad, and they're doing fine. So just in case you guys were worried about Russia, they're doing real good. Yeah. Thanks to high price per barrel of oil prices, their main export, and fertilizer, all their exports. So they're all their mining, slavery. They're doing good. Don't worry about them. Europe, not so much. Yeah, they're going to die. And I think at some point, this bogus war, Ukraine versus Russia, has got to wrap up. It's just, they've got to figure this shit out like now. And I'm going to tell you, because I have studied this and talked to a lot of experts involved in it. I mean, all Russia wants is the Donbass and Crimea. They just want to kind of cut some miles, just like Department of Homeland Security on our borders, like 80-mile they take over. We fought that and won, but eventually, war of attrition, we lost. So it is a war of attrition in Ukraine, and that's all Russia wants. If you want to end the war now, they're not trying to take Kiev or what do you call it now? Kyiv. They just want back that territory. They just want those people not to be bombed and effed with. They just don't want to have to ban the Russian language, from those areas anyway. They just don't want there to be political retribution and media retribution going on in those areas, and because it's right next to their border, and they want to make sure that they're going to be safe there. And if you just gave them that today, that war would be over, and it probably is going to happen. If I have to make a prediction, it's going to have to happen in the next month or two, because when it starts getting really, really cold, and let's face it, I mean, what do we see all this summer? What's going on in Europe? I mean, wildfires and global warming that's what they call it, going on, just out of control. I think we can predict that it's going to be a very cold winter in Europe without the help of Russia. So I would go ahead and put money on it that this something is going to have some kind of peace accord, some kind of a major ceasefire for at least a few months. Something is going to happen in Ukraine over the next month or two to save Europe. Or they're going to have to bust all the sanctions. And sanctions, let's face it, I mean, talking about your favorite guy, Dick Cheney, who you guys all love, and Liz Cheney, they're war profiteers. They made their money from Halliburton, and Halliburton never saw a sanction that it obeyed. Bechtel, BlackRock, Blackstone, like these people, they don't obey sanctions. Sanctions are for people like you. Sanctions are for entrepreneurs. Sanctions are for people who could be the competition to Halliburton and Bechtel and BlackRock and Blackstone and the rest of them, right? And Carlyle Group, they don't obey sanctions. Sanctions are for suckers. That's all over with. That war is going to end. So I don't know, man. I just look, man, I'm not in charge. Very few people in our government deserve half our respect. And I was saying this when I was off for years. I was off during the Trump years because I just didn't want to get involved in that, man. But it's a no-win situation. And it might be now, but at this point, man, we got nothing to lose. We have nothing to lose at this point. I just wish there was some kind of plan I could get behind, because I just don't. Tell me what it is. What is the plan you guys are into that you're behind? If you're going to tell me Trump, man, I'm going to say no. Then you're going to get Jared Kushner back and all. I mean, I just don't believe that. The proof is in the pudding. Well, I mean, if Trump could have just gotten around some of the adversaries and the people, he would have done so many great things for America. No, he had chances to do a lot of that. And the capital that he spent wasn't going to help you. Who's going to help you? I mean, if there's anybody watching this show right now that you're doing so good that doesn't matter, please support this show. If you like us at all, support this show. Obviously, you could throw in $1,000 donation, right? You're doing that good. By the way, I'm not 501c3, but I'm sure there's a way to write that off, because we need it. I don't know, man. Look how bad this podcast looks. Look, I went and applied for a barely minimum wage job again today. I ran multi-million-dollar radio networks. This is what's become of people that work their ass off. I got a college degree, worked your ass off, paid your dues, came with it every day, up at 6 a.m, man, to bed at midnight. This is what we've inherited. I mean, my grandparents and great-grandparents would be appalled by this. And not because they're fascist or racist or Trumpers or any of that, man. They put their hard shoulder to the wheel so that their grandchildren and great-grandchildren would have a better life. I have a worse life. How am I supposed to give something to my children? There's nothing left. The pie has been completely eaten. All we had to do was make more pies. Instead, we fought over a pie. Like, whose idea was that? The usual suspects. So, man, tell me what the plan is. What is the plan? Because I hope that the plan isn't just errant revolution, because we were saying that 10, 15 years ago, and this is where we're at now. Okay. Something very important to know is the things you advocate for aren't going to turn out the way you wanted. What you're doing is putting in a little piece into a greater whole, and it turns out a totally different way. When kids today that are on the street and being advocates and activists and whatnot, they weren't even alive when we were pitching ideas of how to fix this country. So they have a totally different idea. They're under a different kind of pressure and a different kind of strain. Trust me, I have 2 children, okay? I have a 30-year-old and almost a 20-year-old. Tell me what is the plan? Because if the plan is just to blow it all up and burn it down, I mean, I guess that's the plan. That's what the other side says or whatever. That's what the kids say, and they don't even know what they're advocating for. When you've been petted and coddled your entire life, and man, that's not how I grew up, but maybe you're not the one to make the decision on what the plan is. So where are the people, again, my generation? Where are our leaders? Where are our people? They killed them all. They're all in jail. They all sold out. Like what? Where are the people? Where are the plans? Where's the because I know we had that 15, 20 years ago. I know we had that. We had a goddamn good plan. And the first part of it was truth. And now some of the things that people thought we were crazy for saying are just completely accepted as fact. Okay? So I guess we accomplished that part of it. I don't know. My plan is, I guess, to drink beer and wait for the apocalypse. Maybe that'll work. I don't know. To put in the time to do shows like this, to hopefully get the passion going in people again. Because I still have it. I still have the passion. I'm ready to go. But if the plan is just anarchy for anarchy's sake, then count me out. Sounds like a song. If the plan is that 6 billion people that could be better off living here can all come here and get benefits and free shit, then count me out, man. If the plan is to solidify non-regressive policies, which again usually come from the progressives, sorry, but there's no one to fight the other side, then count me out. You know it's gonna be all right. You know it's gonna be all right. You know it's gonna be all right. Yeah. We're in a massive fundraising piece. It's usually end of the month, but I'm just not very far away. So if we could sell the rest of our shirts, very limited edition t-shirts, everybody donating $50 or more to jackblood@hotmail.com. You can do PayPal or Zelle on that, or just donate $10. And if everybody listening to this, if we get 200-300 people who view this and everybody puts in $10, man, we're good. More than good. So I just got to cover, all the bills and everything that happens over here so we can keep doing this. And then I need, obviously, not hard to tell, I need some software so we can, do some little movies and stuff and make this appealable to the masses, because a show like this with a guy like me on a shitty camera ranting is probably not going to grow too much. So these are some things we have to do. Need a microphone, just some really basic stuff. I mean, we're not trying to build a multi-million-dollar studio, man, like everyone else. We're just, literally like $1,000 or something, and from here we'd be pretty golden. If any of you people doing really good and not worried about your life, the future, yourself, your family, or whatever, man, just do that. Then just kick it in and do it for everybody else. Pay it forward. I do that myself. I've always done that. That's probably why I'm in the position I'm in, is because I have been very generous and have paid it forward. jackblood@hotmail.com. The first run of our t-shirts, you'll be the only ones that have them. I think I have 12 or 13 left, and that's it. Then that t-shirt will never be sold again, and you'll be the only one that has that for a $50 or above donation. Okay. I mean, tell me what you want if you don't want that. We're doing posters and stickers and some other paraphernalia and collectibles and stuff as well. But I mean, I'm here for the long haul. Whatever happens, if I gotta be out in my tent doing it, I guess I'll do it. I mean, I'd rather that not happen. I'm just now trying to get my family from Atlanta to come back here. So I have a teammate over here. Been with my girl for 23 years. Raised my child from a baby to 19 years old. I want to be with them, and I want them to help me, and I think you guys will like what they bring to it as well. So you can contribute to all of that. jackblood@hotmail.com is the email address you use. You can use PayPal or Zelle, Zelle. It goes right from your bank to my bank. I chronicle all of that. If you want t-shirts, please tell me where to send them. I'll need your mailing address. It's very confidential, and what size you want, so I know how to make these shirts. I don't make the wrong size or whatever. That's all going to be very helpful. Tomorrow we'll be on Ocelli Network live with a whole new live show. Once we get to that point, and so many of you guys have been writing us on that, we'll take calls and get you guys really integrated into that as well. Chuck is just a great guy. He's producing the show for me, which is super great. Really amazing. They got a lot of other good shows there as well. So check out Ocelli, Ochelli, Ocelli.com, and you can get all their shows and this show live tomorrow at 3:00 Pacific time every Thursday, at least for the foreseeable future. Appreciate all you guys being here. Thanks so much for supporting what we're doing. It keeps me going. Until then, be bold, shine bright, you crazy diamonds.